Welcome to Franchise Killer. This is a podcast where we pick movie franchises or wannabe franchises, review them film by film, and see where things went wrong or right. Guys, I do not have a good intro for this movie. Did anyone else come with...
either.
Anyone come out?
Can we do physics on...
So, here's what happens when you try to make a sequel for a movie with a completely different crew, completely different cast, completely different author for a book that you're basing it on.
Wait, are we talking about Hellboy with David Harbour?
Yeah.
No, here we're talking about The Girl in the Spider's Web.
Is it a sequel, though? Is it a sequel? Is it a sequel?
Is it a reboot?
Okay.
It's a pseudo-sequel, I guess.
The only redeeming factor is that they didn't try to immediately choose the following book to Girl with the Dragon Tattoo.
Yeah, they skipped they skipped the two good ones and went to the one authored by someone different.
I think they tried to kind of create a new franchise.
They distanced
based on the new
themselves,
author.
And I guess they gave themselves an out because I didn't even know this movie existed.
I didn't either.
I had no idea.
Yeah, Andrew was so excited to announce the three movies he was going to have us watch. It was Master and Commander, League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, which he looked back on fondly, but maybe hadn't seen in a very long time, and Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. And then I was like, Girl with the Dragon Tattoo kind of has a sequel. And he was like, it does?
No. I still will say it does not have a sequel.
Yeah.
It doesn't. Technically,
there is no sequel.
Technically, it doesn't.
Yet, here we are, discussing The Girl in the Spider's Web.
Because, in Reese's words, it has no other place.
Hold on.
It doesn't.
My statement on this is that someone clearly didn't shove a metal rod up someone's to tell them no for this.
Don't make the movie.
Also,
They got too many tasers to the neck.
I don't want to reveal too much of our hand, but Noah does have some comments on certain chess scenarios.
Yes, the chess. I feel like the chess has come back to bite Noah yet again.
Looks like I got the metal
like
rod.
a metal rod in the butt.
To give you a history, Noah is not a fan of chess matches in cheesy movies, and what do you know?
ruined it.
Yeah, lo and behold, there's a chess match at the beginning of this movie.
Okay. The thing that bothers me is not that they choose to do chess at all. In fact, if they did it well, sure. But it's always the most dumb situations and the most tropey, this person's a genius or they're a mastermind. And it's like, really, you moved a couple pawns and like that's a checkmate there,
But Noah,
I guess.
they
It's
turned
stupid.
their knights backwards.
Oh.
Have you
It's
tried
different,
that before?
Noah.
I bet they haven't even played checkers.
You know what? I think that's
Kick me.
a pro move that perhaps I just don't know yet.
It's beyond you.
We're
the
playing that
reverse
kind of
knights.
chess.
Yeah.
Hey AJ, what's the move set they were going for to win the game? It was Queen's what?
Oh,
No,
Queen's Gambit. That's just so often shown move in films, just because it's such a well-known.
So
They
what
don't-
we've
they
seen
don't
that we've
often,
seen that so far
open.
in The Huntsman.
Yeah.
Was it in one of the Tomb Raiders?
Oh,
No,
probably.
no.
Yeah, I think you did talk about it during one of the Tomb Raiders.
If they wanted to, they probably would.
Yeah, and now this. I've said it like 3 times already, but today we're covering The Girl in the Spider's Web, a 2018 release directed by Fede Alvarez. I think that's how you say his name.
I would say
But
Fede, but that's just a guess.
Fede? I have good things to say about this director. Yeah, he directed the Evil Dead remake and Don't Breathe, a movie we talked about last week, which might be a clue into why he directed this one. Yet he abandoned the tone that he had in Don't Breathe, which would have been more applicable to something like this.
So weird.
So perfectly competent director. I feel like he
Yeah.
is. He's also a director that's focused on maintaining his vision for a movie. He was even approached by Marvel Studios at one point, and he declined their offer because they thought that they were going to just basically use him as, just a director where he would just kind of fill that role while they kind of did what they wanted. So yeah, he was the director of this, which I actually at the time thought that was a promising choice to carry on this film. Obviously, given the result, not so much, but I think he's a truly capable director. It's just this maybe just wasn't the right project for him, or there was studio interference with Sony.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Maybe it's like, who can follow Fincher? Let's just completely not even try and do something completely different.
Yeah.
This film stars Claire Foy, Sverrir Gudnason? Sverrir Gudnason.
My goodness, and you butchered that name.
Lakeith Stanfield, who you'll recognize from movies like Get Out.
Yeah.
And Stephen Merchant, he's kind of commonly seen with Ricky Gervais,
Yeah.
kind of a more comedic actor. He was also in Logan as the pale.
Yeah, I do remember that guy.
Yeah.
He couldn't be in the sun.
Caliban. His name's Caliban.
Yeah. Who's this guy?
David.
And who are you?
Irina!
And you?
Noah.
And way over there in the nosebleeds, who is it?
AJ.
All right. Are you all ready?
You are our humble host, Reese.
Yes, I'm Reese. Sorry, I forget to introduce
I'm ready.
myself. Anyway, on this podcast, we basically break down the story of the film. I should rewind. Before
by
that,
word?
we kind of give our history with the franchise. But this I feel like there's not going to be much history because this is a very recent film, and
Yeah.
likely none of us have seen this going in.
2018?
Yeah, 2018.
So 7 years after Girl with the Dragon Tattoo.
Had any of y'all seen this before this episode?
I haven't
Nope.
even heard of this movie.
No.
Yeah, so
no.
we're going to completely skip that. But after we go through the story and give our, brief thoughts on moments we thought were notable, we will review the film, give it a score, and then talk about the franchise as a whole and whether or not this one helped or hurt the franchise. We'll get into that a little
Franchise
later.
effectively killed.
Yeah. So how do y'all feel about breaking into the story right now?
Well, let's touch on the intro credits real quick. It looks like, you remember the intro for the first one?
Mm-hmm.
All
Yeah.
the black ink and all that stuff.
Yeah.
It looks like they tried to replicate that, but it was like a, high school project.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. I think it's a little harsh, but
It-
yeah,
it
I know what
looked-
you're saying.
It looked like music video level, where
I
it was
guess.
like,
But it was
okay,
also
this
like
is-
10 seconds long versus...
I was like,
Well-
where's Taylor Swift and her edgy like redo that she's trying to go for?
Now we've
like,
got bad blood.
Okay, I will say though, in this entire intro, this is the strongest point of the movie for me. It literally went from this is not a terrible start. Claire Foy isn't that bad. This is not a terrible as I was thinking it was going to be, and then it goes nowhere but down from here.
You're talking
Well,
about
Well, you already
the
know
actual
there's
intro.
something
in
wrong
this-
where they LED the taser.
I think that
It's true.
with the beginning, while I wasn't happy that it isn't the same as the original, or original being in this case the American version of Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, I was okay with the idea that they're kind of trying to push the vigilante aspect. I would be on board with that as far as a remake goes. I
That's-
kind of like the idea of her being more vigilante.
That's almost canon to the later books.
Yeah,
isn't it?
definitely.
Yeah, I noticed, and we talked about this in the last episode. This is like the Roger Moore Bond to Daniel Craig's Bond.
Right.
Yeah.
Where
and
it's like, this is like I don't.
obviously getting ahead of ourselves. That's what, in my opinion, this film boils down to, is they tried to turn Girl with the Dragon Tattoo into a Bond film.
Right.
Yeah, and
By
not a
pulling
good
all
Bond
of the
film.
action out of the book and all of the character development and intrigue and trashing it.
Yeah.
Arguably,
Anyway,
that's probably what they thought the audience wanted.
yeah.
Right, I didn't want character development. That's for sissies.
Anyway, we'll dig into that on our story. In this episode, I'm going to condense the story a bit. I'm going to tell it in 2 chunks. I'm sorry, guys. It's gonna suck to listen to me get through all of this. It's gonna be like 3 paragraphs
It's
worth
all
of
right.
Swedish stuff that I can't say properly.
Wait,
and-
could you just say it all in Swedish?
Yeah, because I am fluent for sure. Why? Hunker down, batten down the hatches. In Stockholm, Sweden, vigilante hacker Lisbeth Salander is hired by computer programmer Franz Balder to retrieve Firefall, a program capable of accessing the world's nuclear codes that he developed for the National Security Agency, as Balder believes it is too dangerous to exist. Lisbeth successfully retrieves Firefall from the NSA's servers, attracting the attention of agent Edwin Needham, but is unable to unlock it, and the program is later stolen from her by mercenaries led by Jan Holster, who I forget.
That right.
Who also attempts to
So
kill
do we
Lisbeth.
all.
When she does not attend their scheduled rendezvous, Balder mistakenly believes Lisbeth decided to keep Firefall for herself and contacts Gabriel Grain, the deputy director of Swedish Security Service, who moves Balder and his young son August to a safe house. Meanwhile, Needham tracks the unauthorized login to Stockholm and arrives to seek Lisbeth and Firefall.
What?
I'm not done.
What?
Lisbeth asks her hacker friend Plague for help, and they contact Lisbeth's former lover, investigative journalist Michael Blomkvist, for help identifying her assailants. Blomkvist learns Holzer. I can't say that. I want to say Holster.
Holster.
That's the Texan in you.
Yeah. Holzer previously worked for Lisbeth's late father, crime lord Alexander Zalachenko, and is now affiliated with an elusive and international crime syndicate known as the Spiders. Lisbeth puts surveillance on Balder's safe house, and when it is attacked, she intervenes, attempting to protect Balder and his son. She is intercepted by Holzer, who kills Balder, frames Lisbeth for his death, and kidnaps August. Lisbeth pursues them in a stolen police car and is able to rescue August. Lisbeth also learns the Spiders' leader is her sister, Camilla Salander, whom Lisbeth believed to be dead. When they were children, Lisbeth decided to run away from their abusive father, and when Camilla hesitated, Lisbeth left her behind. After years of physical and sexual abuse, Camilla faked her suicide and went underground to form the Spiders.
There's a second chomp.
Little did you know, guys.
I zoned
that
out
scene?
on most of that.
Yeah.
Sorry,
I don't even
sorry,
know.
that was it.
So starting at the top, we kind of talked about the intro scene a little bit, in which it kind of starts at a high point. Okay, cool. She's a vigilante badass now, I guess. But then like the whole rest of the movie doesn't follow that at all.
I know.
So the part that lost me, and I talked to David about this, was motorcycle on the ice.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, when that scene
And,
happened,
That's like
I was watching this
Thunderball
with
from
AJ,
James
and
Bond.
I had the most audible sigh of just like,
Both of us.
like
Here we
what?
go.
Okay, so the thing is, I was totally on board with the whole. I love motorcycle car chase scenes. I
Yeah.
love
you would love this movie then.
imagining seeing the thing that the original had, and I'm struggling to try and separate this from the other American version. Is I love the practical use of stuntsmen using car chase scenes, and I think it would be so cool to just leave it at that
Yeah.
as a motorcycle car chase scene.
Yeah.
But instead, they just had to jump the shark
Yeah.
with, I'm taking a risk riding on the ice across the fjord.
Yeah.
Yeah, you took the words out of my mouth. Jumping the shark. I mean, and actually the high points of this movie were the camera work for the motorcycle scenes.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's where they blew their whole budget.
Now,
Yeah.
now we are jumping ahead to the. I want to talk about the intro to Lisbeth Salander, which
Yeah.
I feel is so much less effective than the first film. I think what
yeah.
and where I did criticize the bookends of the first movie.
Right.
What they did succeed at was showing a third-person perspective of someone looking in on who Lisbeth Salander is.
Right, right.
Where I like that it's set up where people talk about her and
Yeah.
then she appears on the scene.
Right.
In this one, she is there.
Yeah.
And you get less of a sense of why this woman is special.
Yeah.
Or what makes her different. It's just like, oh, there she is. You know?
Yeah.
I like someone, it's almost I talked about this previously, but it's the John Wick thing where it's
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
you learn more about her through other people's experiences
Right.
with them. And that adds to their legendary status.
And they're
I guess.
almost an enigma in themselves.
Yeah. And this lacks that.
Yeah.
Well, and that's what I was just to jump on kind of what I was saying earlier is that this intro scene with her is stronger than I think any other point with her in the movie. It almost seemed like they were trying to piggyback more off of the first movie still. Even some of the lines they gave her reminded me of, scenes they had with her quote unquote guardian that took advantage of her, where she threatens him, if you do this, I will do this. If you threaten this, I will leak this to who. It's like they took that from the first one, but it was still effective in this one.
Yeah.
And that was
sure-
about as strong
Yeah.
as it got for me.
I'm pretty sure the trailer for this movie was basically that first scene with some more motorcycle scenes.
Yeah.
Right.
And I will say, I actually really like, even though I don't think we learn a lot about her, I like the first appearance of her
Yeah.
as a character, because it not exactly, I don't think she does an excellent job, but I like this this guy in a penthouse. He's like
Yeah,
talking
yeah.
to someone that you can't see.
Yeah,
and he's
yeah.
like, I'm sorry about such and
That's-
such. And then the pan down
weird
to
thing-
the woman who's like
Yeah.
bloodied up. I was like, oh, that was an interesting.
It was
The
an
weird
effective
thing is
intro.
that's actually, it almost seems like a homage to Fincher in himself, because the way he filmed the first one was he'll create a question and then answer it later.
Yeah.
So he doesn't give you the immediate
Yeah.
answer at that moment. He kind of reveals a little bit of a scene, and then you're wondering what's going on, and then you're surprised with the pan over of
Yeah.
what's going
Right.
on.
And that's something Fede Alvarez does well.
Yeah.
He's actually great with setting up a scene and turning it into something completely different.
Her standing in front of the angel statue, the wings behind her.
Yeah.
And I liked her look there. I just wish, like, I just keep, it's hard not to compare it to what
Yeah.
came
It
before.
It is.
Right.
You know?
And artistically, it was well made. This whole movie artistically was well made.
Well-
It had its major flaws.
I think,
Wait,
but
are you talking about the second movie?
Honestly, one of my strangely one of my larger criticisms of this, while I can't say that Claire Foy did a terrible job, I just think that the demeanor is off.
She
Yeah.
felt
No,
clumsy.
Like, it's way off.
No,
It
no,
was-
no. I'm not saying that. That was 100.
Yeah.
I agree
It was
completely.
a clumsy, heavy-handed approach, whereas
Oh, yeah.
Mara was more of a surgeon, scalpel, like detail.
right.
Irene and I had a lot of
It's
conversation
weird
about
too,
that.
because one of the few praises of this movie was Claire Foy's
Yeah,
performance,
I
and
saw
I was
that
like,
too. I was
I
like,
don't understand
what?
that.
So-
I think
so-
she wasn't bad.
Okay,
it was
so
just
the,
like
the thing I think about Claire Foy is that she's generally recognized as a good actress. But I think because there's that stigma with her, they don't want to criticize her for this role. And I probably wouldn't. I feel like the problem is maybe direction and writing.
Yeah.
I think she in general is a good actress, but I don't think this is the role for her.
I don't know.
Like,
I just
look-
saw,
Yeah.
like, instead of a brooding, like, I guess deep troubled character from the first one, she just seemed moody.
Well, yeah, it's just that difference of, in the first one, she's kind of this low key genius,
Yeah.
and you can tell that she's got a lot going in her on in her mind, just with a look.
More subtle.
But then in this one, she just seems a little more like a punk,
Right,
You
right.
know,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
and like sure, the first one she's got
Definitely.
punkish qualities,
Yeah.
but that wasn't her whole character. In this, she just
Yeah.
seems
Yeah.
kind of like, oh, I'm a rebel anarchist.
It was
David, I'm going to interrupt you. No,
You know?
I'm
no,
joking.
no, it's okay. I was just thinking, Irene and I talked a lot about the differences between Mara and Foy. Foy was acting it out. It was more like somebody was told to just act emo, almost. Like, just take someone who's normal
So,
and act more emo, and
the
then,
thing
yeah,
that-
you'll do it.
The thing that is different about the two is Foy acts in a way that is trying to convey something to the camera, and she comes across to me as a normal person who has a singular traumatic experience, kind of acting goth. Whereas Mara came across as someone who is constantly being beaten down by society
oh my gosh, and this
is trying to escape something, not acting for a camera.
Can I say how much of an effect the eyebrow dye for
Yeah.
Rooney Mara's character had such an impact on the aesthetic
Yeah.
of that character versus this one who
Here's-
she has the eyebrows.
And just like a bowl
You
cut.
reminded
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
Actually, in the books, her character is supposed to be naturally
Redhead.
a redhead.
Really?
And so she dyes her hair jet black. But the thing with Claire Foy's character is her eyes are naturally dark. So she doesn't come across as like she was purposefully dyeing her hair.
Yeah, and actually, there is a detail in the first movie that Rooney Mara talks about in an interview with, I think, Fallon.
Yeah.
I'll let y'all look that up, but it was like dedication to detail,
Yeah, definitely.
where obviously that didn't translate to.
Well, I will say
Yeah.
Claire Foy, as much as she is a come down from Rooney Mara, is the least of this movie's problems,
Oh, yeah,
in my opinion. I
definitely.
think she's at least trying something, if unsuccessfully. She looks like she's. This is not just a paycheck movie
Right.
for me. She's at least
Right.
giving us something.
Yeah, she is.
On the other hand, we have Sverrir Gudnason as Michael Blomkvist, who is
This was awful.
You
This
cannot
guy-
say his name without us interrupting you.
yeah, this guy
was
was just he might be a good actor in other stuff. I just feel like, oh my god, he was
I
dealt
think
a bad hand in
He
this movie.
he was not given a chance to act.
This poor man.
He's a nothing of a character.
He was just a
like-
face. Like,
Yeah,
pretty boy.
definitely.
You should see my notes. I think I have 3 notes on what is this guy doing? What is this?
So the thing that David and I talked about was in most movies they would portray, it's usually a main lead who's a dude, and then there'll be a side character that's female. But we talk about how a lot of films have a side female character just so they can have a female character. But if you took her out of the film, nothing would change in the plot. This is Mikael Blomkvist in this film. If
He's
you took
supposed
him
to
out,
be the co-lead.
there would be
No
nothing
difference.
changed.
Yeah, he's definitely weaker, both
Oh,
physically
yeah.
and intellectually.
He had
than
no
the
reason to
Craig
be there.
version.
Oh, yeah.
And what was the whole like elevator sequence where she's like,
So-
"Hey, I got a phone. It's in the ashtray," and they're like,
Got
So
him.
that was almost a stylistically, I thought was a cool shot with their opposite.
"It looked cool,"
Oh, yeah,
but
yeah.
I just feel
And
like
I think
practically,
it kind of was supposed to embody the emotional distance between them, but she's still reaching out to him
That
for help
actually makes
reluctantly.
sense.
yeah.
But yeah,
But they never pick up the thread from where they left off.
That
Yeah.
is-
It's just-
that was my main criticism. Where when I was writing it, I think one of my final notes in the middle, the relationship between them. The main problem was that they were trying to hang on the coattails of the first movie as if you remember those people and they built this big relationship, right? We're the same people, right?
Yeah.
No, you are 2 different people and you guys are not selling this. And there is no reason for me to believe that you guys have been in anything
Yeah.
together or know each other.
Yeah. This guy was so bad that this character that I didn't even know was a part of this, Edwin Needham, played by Lakeith Stanfield, almost had more of a, chemistry
Yeah.
with Lisbeth Salander.
Yeah.
Even in it wasn't not a romantic relationship at all, but there was almost more of a chemistry
he
between
definitely
them.
had more
than-
on-screen presence, like
Yeah.
in the sense that you noticed him when he was there,
Yeah,
and
and
he actually had impact on what was going on.
Yeah, and I thought he was actually okay.
Yeah.
He did all right.
I actually didn't care much for him
Okay.
either.
I definitely
Compared
thought,
to Blomkvist, I mean,
Oh yeah, you have to admit.
Blomkvist is basically vanilla.
Also, I'm wondering, like, if Lisbeth Salander is such a good hacker, why was he able to so easily trace her back to her exact location?
because in this movie she's relying on magic technology that instantly hacks
Yeah.
for her.
Yeah.
Unlike the original, where it was more of that realistic hacking.
Yeah.
I know we're jumping all over the place here in the plot.
This
Also,
kind of jumps around too.
yeah, I just don't feel like she's nearly as careful or calculated as she
Oh, no.
was.
Yeah, for
in the-
example, like after the rape scene in the first movie, she goes back home or limps back home, and she has a Happy Meal on the desk, ironically.
Yeah.
But she already has a stack of the yellow duct tape that she's
Yeah.
going to be using in the next scene for her revenge.
Yeah.
This one is like there's
Yeah.
stacks of fast food, just why, I guess.
It's very
But
hard.
there's no calculation to like her methodical
Yeah.
aspect of her
It's
nature.
very
also-
hard to not put this one up against the first one because the first one does such a good job creating her character without revealing too much of her history either.
Well, this movie's trying to have its cake and eat it too. It's trying
Yeah.
to be a reboot, but also, like, as many of you all have said, riding off the coattails of Girl with a Dragon
Yeah.
Tattoo.
Right.
Like, it doesn't try to establish its own Lisbeth Salander.
Right.
It doesn't give her this, an opening scene that's like, this is who this character is. It's hoping that you have that knowledge from the previous film going into this
Yeah.
one.
Right.
So that's why it's not a complete reboot. It's
They just can't organically recreate the suspense that the first one had. They're just like heavy-handedly
Yeah.
forcing it or shoehorning. Like, I guess it's supposed to be suspenseful,
yeah.
but
Yeah.
we just have a bunch of motorcycle action scenes of her
Yeah.
jumping from a fire blast into a bathtub. Or
Yeah.
she also uses a gun a lot more in this, which I don't know if she
Oh,
does
yeah.
in the movie, where she relies on the taser more.
She does, yeah.
Yeah.
So
And lastly, let's talk about the Franz Balder character, played by Stephen Merchant, whose
Actually-
son. I thought he was fine.
I liked him. In this,
Why is his
actually.
son the only one that has the coordinates to this nuclear
I was wondering
firefall?
that
Because-
the whole movie.
That's a key point in the plot.
He's the
Because-
he's the MacGuffin, I guess, for this whole
Because
story.
he's also a genius, and that's why.
That was where I knew,
He turns his knights backwards on his chessboard.
it was at this point where I was like, okay,
So-
I went into this. Sorry,
No, go
I went
ahead.
into this like, okay, I'll be open to a different take on this story, but then it lost me at that point
Dude.
altogether.
I wanted to punt that kid out a window. I
Yeah.
think he is the stupidest character in this. I don't understand. I think the way he was directed was terrible. And this kid, supposedly knowing all the codes and whatever, I understand what the significance is.
Yeah.
There's supposed to be, Salander is supposed to kind of see herself in him because he can memorize these quickly. And there was this one scene that I laughed out loud in front of David where he said, he started saying things like, I don't know, he was repeating a code, and then he said to her, "You think I'm a freak, don't you?" And I was like, oh my God.
You paused. I think you paused the movie.
I
at that
paused
point.
the movie.
The thing is,
and
this
I
movie-
just had to just sit there for a minute going like, how
It
stupid is this?
It's funny because like the Dragon Tattoo, David Fincher's movie was like the epitome of like subtlety.
Yes.
And just in every scene, careful and calculated. This movie is the exact opposite. Everything is turned up to 11. Everyone's like, there's a moment where Lisbeth Salander throws her phone down and shoots it. And then like
At that point,
No,
I
that was the
brought up
NSA
too.
agent. That was the
That was
NSA
the
agent.
agent,
Top
yeah.
of it, he's like ex-military, like special ops. Literally at his foot, like 2 feet away,
Yes.
shoots it. Like what is?
I
There's
literally
a
looked over at Rena and
montage
said
of
that.
nuclear explosions just inserted into this movie.
Well,
Why?
I was saying the same thing to Irina, the exact point, and I don't know how many people noticed that either, but he could have just stepped on it.
I know.
Why did he shoot
there's
it?
I'm
also
gonna shoot it.
there's also a moment where
It's more dramatic that way.
they're getting some information out of a picture, and they just throw the frame down,
I know,
like breaking
oh my
the
God.
glass.
Yeah, he
and I'm
just
like,
slams
Oh my
it.
gosh! He was
Why?
like, I can't wait any longer. I have to throw it down and break the glass.
Yeah, no
I
subtlety.
think it would
They
have taken less time to just
know.
open it up.
instantly
normally.
Oh my
hijack
gosh.
a Lambo and then just drive it around, even though they're on the Lamb, like hiding from everybody. Let's drive a Lambo around.
But the kid wants the Lambo.
Yeah.
The kid thought it was cool.
So can we draw attention to the fact that Lisbeth Salander only needed Blankfist to be a babysitter for a kid? That's
Yeah.
the only purpose he presented in this.
Pretty much. I will say the fight scene in the. I know we're not in
Dude,
order
I
at
don't-
all here.
See,
It's
I don't even know how to keep this movie in
because
order.
they're throwing so much information.
well, we
at
also
you.
had a huge block paragraph of like most of the movie.
I know.
Yeah, yeah.
But that's this whole movie. It's just
Well,
like
here's
things
the thing.
happening really quickly.
They are
Like-
literally cherry picking action from a story and
Yeah.
just throwing action at you. I think they wanted to just be a James Bond film.
Yeah, it is
I
so.
I
it is
honestly
Like
think
Firefall,
that, yeah.
that's a freaking
Dude,
like,
I
James
totally
Bond,
agree with you.
like,
And, and
name.
there's that guy with the face deformity that's like
Yeah.
very James Bond.
Yeah, you can't fix
villainy.
a scar on his
No.
forehead, but he has like a magically replicant.
Yeah.
Oh, like fair.
perfectly-
I did like that scene. I thought
Yeah.
that was kind of cool.
Yeah.
And not to be, I was about to say something positive about this movie actually.
Almost.
Yeah, the Franz Balder bathroom fight scene.
Yeah,
I thought it was
I
actually
like that.
pretty well
Okay, yeah.
done. I like how she used the wooden toothbrush on that guy's
Right.
leg.
Yeah,
was
that
really
was
cool.
Even
cool.
though she's like 60 pounds, like fighting off these giant hulking guys, like
Yeah,
that's not really realistic.
It was still nice to see a little bit of resourcefulness
Yeah.
from her character. Although there's something that comes up later where the father's obviously shot in the head, but the kid
Answers a
there's
phone call from
answers
his
a phone
dead
call
father.
from his father.
Even
that,
though he's supposed to be a savant or
That
something
was
like
so
Oh
that.
my gosh, that kid! See, this is why I want to punt him out a window.
I also think it's interesting that Edwin, the NSA agent, in like tracking Salander down himself, not telling anything else from the agency, and he's like literally the only black guy in all of Sweden. Like he's not going to stand out to Soda or whatever the Swedish intelligence is like trying to keep tabs on him.
You
I
better
like- I
not
like-
do anything outside of this tourist brochure, or we'll know.
I like that. Like, there's no really, operating procedure at that office. He just like
My
presses the
gosh.
shutdown button and he's like, "Sorry, guys," and then he pieces out.
Honestly,
And then randomly just has a 50 BMG sniper rifle at the end, just
no.
X-raying through everything.
Other
It's GTA 5
Look,
cheat codes.
he was more aloof than Lisbeth Salander in this movie. He would have done a better job playing Lisbeth Salander, I think. He was so he did not look like he had any emotion this entire movie. I liked him. He did a great job, I think, compared to some of the other people, but
this movie represents the thing I hate about a bunch of other movies that have to do with espionage is the fact that they're pretending to be super clever, but while you're watching it, you're thinking, wow, it took you that long to realize that, you know? And you're just thinking, if this were really our government intelligence, I don't know how we're surviving right now. Because this is...
I don't know, maybe you can just like be paralyzed, but still crush some Adderall pills up on the ground and snort them, and then you magically
we had to talk about this.
Yes.
Irene and I literally had to talk about that scene and the science behind it. We're like, okay, so if it was a sedative, what kind of sedative? Would Adderall work for that? Like, I know
like,
it's a
I
stimulant.
guess it's supposed to be adrenaline straight to the heart or something
So
like that.
It's an amphetamine.
The only thing I can argue is that if you're in that sort of dire situation, you might just risk it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, but I feel
Otherwise,
like you would
don't know.
swallow it versus I'm going to magically
Yeah, I'm
crush this
gonna
up and
No,
snort it.
I do. I understand that because I think it is more of a straight
Direct to the
transfer.
bloodstream,
Yeah,
Yeah. I feel
I
like
think
this.
she knew that.
I feel like this episode is just as spastic as this movie.
Also,
Yeah,
the person who
It's
has
fine.
a scratch on their back that somehow debilitates them severely, and
Hey, she
then
glued
proceeds
it.
to super glue it closed, and then immediately put her shirt back on over it, like the shirt wouldn't be glued to her back. I don't know.
I'll say we get a, before we move on to the next plot point, I think we had a fairly engaging car chase after Franz Balder is killed, where Lisbeth Salander gets away with the kid and lifts the bridge.
Yeah.
I thought that was okay. It was
know,
cheesy.
yeah.
I didn't think she had enough time to like run up that thing and press that button, but it was still like, okay, that's
I
kind of
almost
cool.
felt like they were... there are some times in this film where I feel like they were kind of going for a sort of Kill Bill aesthetic.
I could see
where
that.
it's like, I don't know. I feel like there were a lot of things pulling this movie in a bunch of different directions.
There's certain campiness to it that
Yeah.
almost like can't be not
Right.
intentional.
Yeah.
But-
You're thinking like maybe it's trying to be campy, but
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
not fully going that way.
But you're taking the completely wrong character to do that.
yeah, definitely.
But that bridge scene, I think they filmed it in Berlin, somewhere in Germany. It's an actual
Yeah.
bridge, but that
Right.
was, I thought that was a cool scene.
it was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so funny because the director. This seems like a made-by-studio movie. Like this
Yeah.
seems like something that Sony was like, and maybe it was.
Micromanaging everything.
Yeah, but
Mm-hmm.
apparently Fede Alvarez was like the reason everyone was recast was because he wanted this to be his own fresh vision, which this
doesn't feel fresh.
This
It
movie
doesn't.
almost has to be completely severed from the original and just seen as its own movie.
Yeah.
Like almost like a James Bond-esque movie.
Yeah.
And just take it as an action movie. Whereas
you-
the first one is a psychological almost
The-
thriller suspense. This one's an action movie.
even divorced from the first movie, I honestly don't see myself really liking this
Yeah,
one.
yeah, definitely.
It's hard to even separate them.
And that's because again, it just doesn't establish anyone.
The
really
characters
well.
aren't relatable.
Yeah. Anyway, let's push on through this plot here.
Second paragraph.
Yeah, second.
I don't
two
even know
paragraph-
where we are.
Last paragraph.
Well, the movie doesn't know where it is, so it's fine.
It's true.
Elizabeth takes August to another safe house where she confirms he is the only one capable of unlocking firewall,
Oh my
which
gosh,
we
just
discussed.
kill August already.
Yeah. Elsewhere, Needham locates Elizabeth's girlfriend Sophia and persuades her to arrange a meeting between them, intending to lure Elizabeth into a trap. But Elizabeth manages to evade him, and Needham is later arrested by Grain. Elizabeth helps him escape in exchange for his promise to safely escort August back to the United States to be reunited with his mother, and begrudgingly agrees to later give him Firefall. The spiders trick August by calling him from his father's cell phone. Sorry, August, you're an idiot. To track him to Elizabeth's safe house. Camilla and the spiders take August to her base of operations, the sisters' childhood home. Grain had hired the spiders to retrieve Firefall for her and informed them of Balder's location, but Camilla kills Grain instead.
Are we done?
Not yet.
Oh.
We're almost there. Are we done?
Keep going, please. Just finish
Yeah,
it.
no.
David?
we gotta,
Supposed
That
genius.
was my mental note throughout the entire film was, are we done?
Done
Are
yet?
we
Look,
done yet?
Hey, I do feel bad because this took a lot of people a lot of time to make, and undoubtedly
I mean-
they put their hearts into
Shoot
it.
the leader.
I guess you have to, like you said, divorce it from the original, like just completely start fresh and realize this is not a subtle film. It's an action
Yeah.
film.
Okay, so this is the stupid part. Is he talked to her about maybe I should forget him because my dad told me that I should.
Yeah,
forget
because he's
things
emotionally
that I've already
disconnected
done.
like her.
Oh my god!
This
I want to
is-
slap that kid in the face.
I feel bad because this is the point of the movie where I glazed over a little bit.
So
Yeah.
let's talk a little bit of highlights. So
yeah.
the tension between the Salanders, Lisbeth and Camilla, the sisters.
Yes.
How do you feel that
tension,
went over?
where?
I
don't
thought
know.
I thought that was the most. Sorry, I know
The
y'all might
bridge.
agree
I
with
feel like
me.
the bridge
Go-
scene was
go
a
ahead,
good
go ahead.
opening for that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I actually think the introduction of Camilla, the older version, is good. I think there's actually and we'll get to it later, it comes towards the end, but that arc of that character comes to an interesting close where it's like,
Yeah.
oh, you actually got me to feel something in this
They
movie. I,
feel like
didn't think I could feel anything.
they forced a little bit of parallelism in it with the opening of the child Lisbeth jumping off the cliff.
Yeah.
And then obviously the sister.
You mean the cliff that she should have been dead from jumping off of?
Yeah. And why are these
she
bars
hit a
broken?
snowbank or something.
Yeah. And then obviously Camilla, like, I guess recanting her ways or
Yeah.
somehow redeeming herself a little bit emotionally and then committing suicide by going off the cliff.
Wait, we're
that
already
parallelism, I guess they were trying some emotional approach to things.
So.
Oh,
Wait, are we already at the point where Camilla kills
I jumped ahead
herself?
'cause that's
no,
the
not
end.
yet.
Oh, okay.
We're
never
almost
mind.
there.
I was
We're-
trying to highlight some positives just by that
Yeah,
the
gotcha.
relationship between Lisbeth and Camilla.
I was thinking,
Oh,
wait, we're
by the way,
No.
how subtle do you think hijacking a Lambo is?
Yeah.
dude.
No.
David
Pretty
made the
subtle.
same
By,
comment. He was like,
Fast
super
Furious.
subtle, you guys.
The first thing I heard was Michael Caine's voice. Oh, the Lamborghini then. Much more subtle.
Yeah.
Very Batman.
Well, it's funny because, like, speaking of subtlety, I feel like a lot of the cheapness of this movie came off because there was so much product placement. Sony, I mean, like Volvo was very heavy. I mean, Volvo was a Swedish brand.
Yeah.
Not anymore, but then you have like a BMW, and the next scene it's like
Yeah.
the logo's blacked out, and then you have Lambo, it's like completely blacked out.
There were a bunch of Ducatis in
Yeah,
there.
Ducati the bike,
Yep.
and then whatever.
Yeah,
Anyway,
yeah,
I'm getting
yeah.
off track.
I did like
But-
Sorry, go ahead.
I was just saying the heavy-handed product placement just kind of contributed to the cheapness of the movie. It's like,
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I mean the first movie had that, but it wasn't in your face about
Right.
it.
Yeah, yeah.
I feel like
Well-
like you saw the Coke can in the first movie, and it was like, okay, she drinks Coke, that's fine, whatever.
Also,
But-
with product placement, I kind of give it a pass most
if
times.
it feels like real life.
Yeah, because in real life, how can you avoid product placement?
But if
It's
you notice
impossible.
one brand over and over and over,
Yeah,
and then another
definitely,
brand
definitely.
like obviously blacked out.
Yeah.
Well,
Yes.
sometimes they're just kind of framed in
Yeah.
the image where you're like, oh yeah, that's Apple, you know, kind of, you know.
Yeah.
Um,
I
you-
actually, sorry. I wanted to say I do kind of like the team up between Needham and Salander. I
Probably
think
Needham.
Needham.
Yeah, the team up aspect of it, and also Plague.
Yes.
The fellow hacker. Like I like that aspect
Yeah.
of the team. Like he was actually an enjoyable part of the movie.
Yeah, the movie
Yeah.
kind of almost for 5 minutes there found a nice little
Moment.
moment where it's like, oh, I kind of like this group
Yeah.
of people, but they don't really go much deeper into
It's
that.
because you don't
No.
have that relationship or the dynamic between Blomqvist and
Yeah,
Lisbeth
yeah.
that humanized her in the first film. In
Yeah.
the second film, that relationship is non-existent. Blomqvist is pretty much
Yeah.
non-existent. So it's like, what do you have left? Like basically an empty shell of a vigilante who's uses this taser magically to knock everyone out, and
yeah.
oh, I touched this metal rail, everyone on the stairwell is like knocked out forever. It's like, okay.
Yeah.
Lisbeth, Blomqvist, Plague, and Needham track August to the building, and Lisbeth breaks in to give Plague access to the building's surveillance system, but is caught and taken to a room where August is being held, where she learns that Blomqvist has also been captured. When Camilla threatens to torture him, Lisbeth tells August to trust her and reveal the password to Firefall. Camilla then tries to suffocate Lisbeth by wrapping her in rubber coating and suctioning out all the air, while describing the abuse she suffered at the hands of their father. Armed with a 50 BMG sniper rifle and guided by Plague, Needham firing through brick walls eliminates Camilla's henchmen one by one, saving August and Blomqvist, while Camilla escapes with a laptop containing Firefall. Lisbeth manages to escape and goes after Camilla. Holzer, having earlier been injected with a poison that induces blindness, stumbles around in a forest and then into a road. where he is hit by Camilla's fleeing car, causing the vehicle to plunge. Sorry, Irina. Causing the vehicle.
I'm dying over here.
Causing the vehicle to plunge into the trees. Camilla, injured, escapes into the woods. Elizabeth then pursues her to a nearby cliff top, where Camilla tearfully asks why she never returned for her. Elizabeth responds by telling her that she, Camilla, chose to remain with her father rather than escape with Lisbeth. It is then that Camilla, who is bleeding severely after being wounded in the car wreck, realizes the error of her ways. She drops the laptop computer in the snow in front of Lisbeth and commits suicide by stepping off the cliff despite her sister's objection. Lisbeth briefly mourns Camilla's death.
Is that what happened?
This is
So-
Let me. I'm
Dumb.
gonna close it up real quick. I know we got a lot to say.
Okay.
Last little bit. On his way back to the United States with August, Needham attempts to access Firefall, only to discover Lisbeth has destroyed it, citing it is what Balder would have wanted. Lisbeth later burns down her childhood home as closure and rides away on her motorcycle.
Are we done?
All right, Irina, you have something to say.
Yeah.
Let's
So this movie was constantly okay, I understand why they're going this way. I'll stick it out a little more. Oh my god. There are so many things that just disappoint me.
Yeah.
And one of them I'm afraid I'll forget if I don't mention right now is the blind man walking in front of the fast-moving vehicle. So when I don't understand, they did not really convey to me what the timeline is in this sequence, because apparently this guy who became blind because of the injection that August puts into his leg
Go walk in the
brown
woods.
recluse.
falls
Found
out
his
of
way
a
into the
window. He's wandering around, like hands in front of him, like, oh, I don't know
And
where
then
I
just
am.
stops walking on the road.
Suddenly just walks in front of the road where Camilla is driving off, telling her chauffeur, good job. And then just flies off into whatever.
Yeah.
Well, the timing of it was
God.
terrible because it was like a minute after he got stabbed, he walked in the woods and somehow made it like a mile.
And they're little
off the
flashes
road.
showing him kind of wandering through the woods,
And
oh,
well, she drove off in a car. Like she would have been
like,
she
way
was
past.
And it's
that.
I'm sure Maseratis are safe, but they just flew 50 yards over a hill into trees, and I'm sure the driver is dead. I don't think she was buckled up, but she walks away with a scratch on her
Maserati.
thigh.
Oh,
Flies
okay.
good.
One more scene that I have to make note of
Terrible.
is Camilla standing in the room waiting for her sister, going,
Irina made me rewatch that.
Is that the one?
I had to come back and
why
rewatch
is
that.
this happening?
And they're all getting magically sniped, and she's just walking around like nothing's happening.
Also,
No big deal.
did you notice that actress, what's her name? Sylvia Hoeks?
Yeah.
She played literally the same character she played in Blade Runner 2049, which
I
was
didn't watch that, actually.
Oh, okay. Well, she plays kind of one of the replicants in that movie.
Okay.
Who I don't know. It's just she did not have
In
to
this
stretch
movie,
much for this
so
one.
a lot of the weight of a protagonist depends on the strength of the antagonist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And obviously, them being sisters, there's supposed to be this, intense dynamic between them, tension, all that stuff. I just didn't feel like she was a grand mastermind,
no.
creator of a Spectre-like organization.
Yeah.
Spectre from James Bond. Here it's called Spiders. The Spiders.
Yeah.
Oh
She
yeah, we
didn't
have
feel
spider
like-
tattoos instead of
Honestly,
dragon tattoos.
She didn't feel like a criminal mastermind.
Yeah.
Running an international syndicate with any
Yeah.
motivation other than she somehow damaged goods because
thing-
of daddy issues.
The thing is that I feel like there's supposed to be almost this Sherlock and Moriarty kind of dynamic between the two. Because there's Camilla, you could see they're trying to push this. She's sort of taking her time, and they're playing chess moves.
Yeah.
It's a game of chess to them.
And I'm kind of curious to read the book now
Yeah.
because I know Stieg Larsson didn't write this one, but I feel like that kind of dynamic had to have been written better.
Right.
It had to have been.
It had to have been, yeah.
I will back up a little bit. I did actually, as dumb as it was, I liked this sequence where she gets suctioned up in that vacuum of. David's shaking his head.
I agree. I agree with
I
that.
was like, oh, I would not like to be in
No,
that.
that was
No.
actually
Sorry,
terrifying.
David was
Yeah,
shaking
the
his head at the
screen.
scene.
That was very
He just
terrifying.
shot the.
And
he just shot
that
the
was
cell
a
phone
glimpse
with
of
that.
the darkness of the first movie where
Yeah.
this is This is
Oh,
dark.
okay.
No,
That's
that part
intense.
scared me. I agree
So
with you.
the-
That scared me.
The thing is, I wish they had kind of built that up
Yeah.
more,
And
because you notice that vacuum was placed in the beginning in the flashback
Yeah.
on the bed of the father.
Yeah. I also liked the kind of battle with the henchmen with the lit up red glowy eyes.
Okay, yeah.
Interesting
Stylistically,
visually.
yeah.
It was a visual touch that again is a Fede Alvarez type flourish.
But
Yeah.
The substance to it, I'm
little
less
over the top.
sure about.
yeah. Well, so the whole also dynamic of, the abuse of the father, it was alluded to in the first movie where at the end, Lisbeth, Mikhail's like, what happened? Why are you a ward of the state? In the books, it's revealed that she threw a Molotov cocktail into the car with her dad
Yeah.
because she was trying to kill him because
Right.
he abused their mother terribly.
Right.
And that's kind of what broke down why Lisbeth eventually became a ward of the state. Even at 24 years
Yep.
old, she's dependent financially on that.
That was not in
Right.
this.
Yeah, it's all just kind of like, oh, this he's abusive, obviously, but there's no clarity to it, no, definition. It's just, and then why did Camilla stay with him? Why was
Yeah.
she still allied with him and, eventually
It
turned
just
into
seemed
what
very
she is?
Yeah.
fragile.
Yeah.
I'll say
her
the
plot.
one thematic salvation for this movie is Elizabeth's final interaction with Camilla, where it's not perfect,
Yeah.
but Camilla actually ends up saying some things that made me feel sort of bad for her. At the same time, I was like, Camilla, why didn't you just jump out of the window yourself? I feel like you could have gotten yourself out of that situation
ironic,
too.
in my opinion, that Camilla called her out on being a vigilante, a protectress of women, against men who hate women, and savior of abused women, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And we didn't see that character at all in this movie, except for
Right.
the very intro scene.
Yeah.
Like, we didn't see that, and that's what the books and the original Swedish films have Lisbeth develop into. We didn't see that character at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
wish she
that-
had been more developed.
It would have been more effective if she truly believed that her sister was dead and that her act of defending women against men was trying to kind of redeem herself for not being able to get her sister out of that situation.
Yeah.
Like, and maybe that was kind of the point, but it wasn't portrayed fully in this. It just seemed sort
Yeah.
of like she avoided coming back to her
Right.
home and saving her sister, and her sister just threw up this whole plot because she was butthurt that her sister didn't come to save her.
Yeah. That's pretty much that sums up the
And
story.
Yeah.
it's ironic that Camilla asked her, like, where were you? It's like,
Yeah.
where
It's
was
kind
she?
of funny. Camilla's mission she goes to the ultimate extreme for nothing, really, to get back at Lisbeth.
Yeah, but the thing is, Camilla goes into this whole political agenda. Like, it could have been as easy as something else, but for some reason she used this as a way to get back at her sister for that.
Yeah.
And I don't understand. And then she gave it up once she confronted her sister.
And then
about
Elizabeth's
it.
like, oh, I couldn't bring myself to do it. And then she's like, okay, well,
I
I'm
will
gonna
just
die
throw
now.
myself off a cliff.
That makes sense.
I mean,
Because now I have the
and I'll
courage
give you
to fall
Firefall.
off the cliff.
let's end this on the final positive note. I kind of liked that dumb sniper rifle. I'll just
Yeah,
say
it was
that.
kind of. I guess you're playing Modern Warfare. Like, you have X-ray
Yeah.
vision,
Okay.
and you know who's good and who's bad, and everyone's just like walking around
So-
getting. I don't
Yeah.
know.
I know nothing about technology in this field, but this is a movie that exemplifies my struggle with a lot of similar films. Is where did you get that technology?
Yeah, I didn't really see it. That's fine. James Bond.
Well,
James
also
Bond.
the fact that Lisbeth tried to access the Firefall console but couldn't get past the code that only August knew. Yet at the very end, when she gets the briefcase, she somehow hacks into it and disables the NSA from accessing it. Like,
Hacker skills
outside.
enabled.
Dude, I zoned out on a lot of
Yeah.
that. I don't know.
Halfway
what's
through this
going
movie,
on.
I literally had a note that said, I'm zoning out. I don't understand what's happening. Halfway through, I'm done.
I'll just see what happens at the end.
Oh, I forgot. Lisbeth burns down her childhood home.
Yeah.
Was that significant for
No,
some
it
reason?
wasn't.
Not really.
It's the Firefall.
I kind of
that
understand.
actually needed to happen.
Symbolism,
I kinda
Reese.
It's like
understand.
Skyfall
Symbolism.
or something.
No, the fire actually fell and
Yeah,
destroyed
no
what
one
needed to be
cares.
destroyed.
I did see some
we
similarities.
all
to
care.
I'm trying.
Skyfall.
I'm trying to
You
inject
tried
symbolism.
too much. Okay?
Trying.
Skyfall.
All right, that wraps up our story. Sorry this episode is so fast and loose, as I said. All right, we're going to see you on the other side with our brief reviews of the film and how this franchise did as a whole. All right, and we are back talking about the girl with the girl in the spider's web, a title that I will forget in a week.
The girl with the diminished dragon tattoo.
Seriously, I was not able to memorize this movie's title until I don't know, an hour ago. I don't know why. It's just it just does not.
It doesn't flow
It's
the
not-
same
it's
way.
not
What are we doing a podcast on right now?
The girl in
The
the,
girl.
spider's
Franchises that were
the spider's
brutally
nest.
murdered.
nest. Yeah.
The girl that should have murdered
This is
August.
this is murder. Call it in. Okay, so we're gonna do the same thing we did last episode, where we have submitted our ratings beforehand for this movie. We have them on little pieces of paper that David's gonna pull from a bowl.
Dun, da, da, da.
All right, so let's hear it.
Let the ratings begin.
Oh yeah, I should also mention that after the ratings process, we will talk about this franchise and why it failed afterwards. So yeah.
We're going to start with AJ at a whopping 2.5.
Oh my gosh.
That is an
So-
all-time low.
I
That's
love
a
to
This
hear
is-
this.
This is a far departure from the first film. This is like take entirety of James Bond and let's say take Casino Royale, the new one, and then take one of the worst Roger Moore ones, and that's the entirety of James Bond that you know it.
Yeah.
Like that is what we have here. They tried to make a James Bond film with characters that don't belong in this universe. they tried to pull pure action and just like make an entertaining action flick with characters that were from another franchise. I mean, I really don't understand it. I don't know why I would ever recommend anyone watch this movie.
It just seems like a collision of two things that should have not.
Like, there are definitely movies that are bad that I would recommend over this movie, like
Yeah.
just for fun. Like,
Yeah.
there's like save your time. Really, it's unfortunate that this fell so far from the original. I don't even consider them related, even after finding out that this movie existed.
Not even close.
Yeah, it's just they tried to put dumb action into a smart character movie and assume that you knew what these people came from.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It just
I guess
doesn't
if
work.
you want to go watch a movie with your friends and criticize something for fun, like watch this movie. But
It's a lot of fun for us.
and like we said, I'll forget
Apparently.
the name of this movie, and thankfully I'll forget about it and remember Girl with the Dragon Tattoo.
So I'm presuming
Yeah.
that you're sticking with your 2.5.
2.5.
All right,
Yeah.
next score. Noah with
Yeah.
a 4.
Yeah, so I have to take that away.
Whoa.
He's like, never mind.
I changed my mind.
Yeah, no, I have to lower that. I have to concur with Andrew's 2.5.
Yeah, but and this is through just watching it again and talking about it.
Yes.
Correct. Yes.
No, the main thing is not only is it bad, but it's a complete insult to the first one.
Yeah.
It makes you appreciate the first one so much more.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
In fact, it makes me want to give the first one a higher score
Yeah.
than I gave it already, and that
It's just the knee-jerk reaction.
yeah,
Yeah.
It's just that bad. It's just seeing
Maybe
like
it
okay,
served
If
its
you wanted
purpose.
to put some YouTube video on of scenery of Sweden, you could use this movie.
So what Noah, if you have to adjust your score, what is it?
from
From a 4.
What's your final official score?
oh yeah, no, I said 2.5.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm with Andrew on this one. This
So
movie's
lower than
terrible.
any movie you've ever done.
I
Yeah,
would
no,
watch
this
League
is-
of Extraordinary Gentlemen before I
So-
watch this movie.
So the reason this is so low is that, like I said, it's an insult to what came before it. There's not really a redeeming quality here.
if you want to appreciate this director, watch Evil Dead.
yeah,
The remake,
Evil Dead
yeah.
is good,
And Don't Breathe. Yeah.
Don't
great,
Breathe is
great
good, too.
movies.
but this is not. It just ruins everything.
It's not the same character at all. Like it's just
Yeah.
clumsy, heavy-handed. Like
They should have.
I'll stop talking.
You know,
Yeah.
you're
Let's
you're right.
Move on
It's
to the
just
next score.
they're just
Yeah,
wrong.
Who's next?
Reese is the next score with a 4.5.
Yeah, so maybe I didn't think this, but I might be the highest rating here. Weirdly enough, I'm gonna stick with the 4.5. I think This movie is redeemed only aesthetically. I don't think any of the substance is there, but I think it is shot well. Even though the action sequences, as anti-Girl with the Dragon Tattoo as they are, they're staged well. I think the presentation of the movie is fine. So while I'm not down with any of the characters at all, I still think Claire Foy is at least trying, and I have to give her some points for that. And I think Fede Alvarez, the director, is at least trying, even though he is sorely misguided on this movie. So for that alone, and I wasn't completely bored by it. I was just like kind of baffled by it as I was watching it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I'm going to go with a lower mediocre score of 4.5 on the film. So yeah, likely the highest. So
All right. Next up,
Likely.
Irina with a 5.
Five.
Wow, I was not expecting that high score.
So, not likely the highest, Reese.
Are you sticking with that 5?
Yes, I am. I think I
thought I knew you.
Yeah.
I mean, after all that, I thought you were going to give it a 1.
Usually, AJ and I have the same score. With this one, while I find it incredibly deplorable, while I was watching it, I had to separate it from Fincher's interpretation, which is probably more honorable to Larson's depiction. I haven't read the new ones as far as the series goes, so who knows, maybe part of this is pretty accurate to the new books. I'm sorry if anyone is an avid reader and I don't know enough about it. I had to applaud the idea that they were trying to kind of convey a different character as far as more of a vigilante aspect. August was a lot of the big reasons why I put this down a lot lower because I hate child actors. Anyway, I feel like it was pulled in a lot of different directions. I think part of it was trying to harken back to Fincher's portrayal of Girl with the Dragon Tattoo and then move on with its own interpretation. Mm-hmm. And I was on board totally with the vigilante aspect. But then they started to push it a little more in the direction of it feels like what they thought the audience wanted, which was just a bunch of action sequences. And then throwing in there maybe a little more artistic vision, what they thought was artistic vision as far as Camilla being in all red, whereas, Salander is in all black. I don't know. They kind of tried to push this comic book aspect.
Look at those colors. They're so starkly different.
Here's a little color. I just didn't believe it. And they pushed the action a little too far. I don't know. It was conflicting. I think the word in general is conflicting. The writing wasn't great.
Disappointing.
It was very disappointing.
Disappointed.
However, I can see where there was some effort put into it. So I have to at least put it at a 5.
Yeah, it wasn't a throwaway.
Would you say you were better able to separate this movie from the first one? And see it as its own entity?
After a while, I could see them attempting to put it as its own thing. Mm-hmm. But because I had seen the first, I couldn't not compare it.
The fix this would have needed was just reestablish Lisbeth Salander as a different character at the beginning.
See, my problem was that they did not establish the characters as uniquely their own. They kind of just put it in medias res in the bad way.
Yeah. Here's my thing is I'm already having a debate between Rooney Mara and Noomi Rapace.
Yeah.
Oh.
The original Swedish
version.
Okay. Right.
So I'm already comparing those two, and that's a difficult debate because they both do well in different areas.
Right.
And then Claire Foy is completely off left field here.
Yeah, she definitely is.
Let's take a period actor and put her in this movie.
The thing is with Claire Foy, I know she's a good actor. I don't think she's well cast in this.
I mean, I liked Being Human.
Yeah. I think she does
and
well.
She's really good in The Crown, too.
Yeah, in The Crown, I think she was well
she's
cast
good in those period movies.
But
it's very different.
I appreciate that. I can see she's trying with this character, and she's trying to put her unique take. But I just don't... It's not as convincing to me as others.
It feels clumsy.
It does. Yeah.
Because it is.
It's hard to get around that.
Let's get to our final rating here. David.
Final rating. Myself.
You have to look it up.
4.5.
Synergy.
Hey.
All right. That was a hand clap.
Wow, I thought I hated this movie the most, and I turned out to have the highest ranking.
I know.
I'm
Well,
surprised you
know-
gave it a 5.
Real
See,
quick, y'all called that a hand clap. That was a high five, guys.
Hand clap.
It was a clap of the hands.
Yeah, but it wasn't someone with themselves. They
The
were
hands
Your
clapped.
hands
Yeah.
clap.
Get over it.
Anyway,
just a
so 4.5. I was definitely thinking I was going to be on the lower end of this one. And for the same reasons, I thought that people were being harsh on it, but we're going to give it higher scores based on the fact that it was, I don't know what the word would be, cinematically well presented, I guess. Mm-hmm. The actors themselves were not exactly the best cast. The writing was pretty terrible in my opinion, and the only redeeming quality was the fact that it was well framed and well shot. I thought that you could watch it and I guess sort of be entertained if you didn't watch the first one. It doesn't give you what you want out of it if you did see the first one.
Yeah.
And if you're going to try to watch this one, really, really try to just be entertained by high action sequences. This movie really does just try to keep you on your toes with fast-paced movement. That's about it. That's all I can say about it. 4.5 is good enough for that.
So you're not going to sway.
No, I'm not swaying.
I just hate how Blomkvist is not even like non-existent in this movie. It's like
Throw him out.
Definitely.
a
yeah.
Batman and Robin movie without Robin in it. Like, why?
He literally has no purpose in this movie. I have
He
3
really
notes on
does
him
not.
being completely purposeless.
Yeah. All right, let's break this movie down real quick from a critical standpoint, and then we'll get into the box office.
Yeah.
Rotten Tomatoes, this movie did a 40%, and with an audience rating of 36%, so equal to Dragon Tattoo, and the critics agreed with the audience. It was about on the same level, although Dragon Tattoo was much higher received at around an 86%. Metacritic was a 43%, which indicates mixed and or average reviews from critics. And IMDb received a 6.1 score, which is also a mixed score from audiences. So yeah, overall, I feel like it mixed reviews, a little better than what we thought about it.
I mean, I think you and I watched this together, and then at the end we saw on Amazon Prime it was like rated 4.5 stars.
Yeah, that was
It like,
ridiculous.
what?
There's some shenanigans going on there
Yeah.
for sure. But yeah, now let's move on over to the box office where this movie completely crumbled. The budget was under half that of Girl with a Dragon Tattoo. So they were clearly thinking that, hey, maybe if we produce this at half the cost, maybe we'll make the equivalent numbers to what Dragon Tattoo did, but be
You
profitable.
suck.
Yeah, they were. Sony was wrong. This movie grossed $35 million worldwide, less than the production cost.
No.
For reference, the last movie did $230 million. It didn't even pass its production cost.
ouch.
And it was a domestic total of only $15 million.
People
It's what they
people
deserve.
got refunds. For,
Yeah,
like,
this was
watching-
fully and totally rebuked. This is our. I feel like this is our first. I mean, Hellboy was a bomb, the remake or the reboot, but
But
this
still
was
made
like
more than
even
its,
more of a bomb. Like,
Did they do
I
marketing on this
almost
movie?
regret choosing this franchise.
Yeah.
because of
No, none of us have even really none of us heard of this movie before this. How
Yeah.
did this one do in marketing? Because
I-
no one heard of it.
I barely remember seeing any trailers for this. I'm sure they were out there, but like I maybe saw one trailer and I was like, that.
But
looks
money.
whatever.
It's just 2017 or 18.
So they couldn't spend that much
2018.
on advertising.
Oh, that was
and so
recently.
the,
as well.
the first
Yeah.
Swedish language one was 2009,
You
then
suck.
2011 for the Craig one,
Yes.
and then 7 years later for
Now, just imagine if they had kept all the original characters, kept David Fincher. It would have cost more, yes, but I can guarantee you it would have made more than $35 million.
and
at
there
the
would be
box
more
office.
than 2 movies.
Yes,
Oh, yeah.
and it would have made more of a cultural impact.
Well,
It would be a household name.
also
Yeah.
given the fact that his movies tend to have a kind of a slow burn, so people would have established the fact that they liked the first one, and now that he's coming out with another one, it
Yeah.
would probably have a stronger receiving viewing.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So
I would have been way on board with seeing a sequel if I heard it was coming out.
Now that said, you might have to sacrifice the Mindhunter TV series on Netflix,
Yeah.
which
Fincher.
David
Which
Fincher was
I
a part of
don't
instead.
watch, so that doesn't matter
It's-
to
Yeah,
me.
it's a great series. It's just like,
Maybe I should.
would you take that or a sequel to Dragon Tattoo?
Tattoo.
Oh, no.
I actually think I'd pick Dragon Tattoo. I like Mindhunter, but
I feel like Mindhunter will still be made eventually.
yeah, a lot of people love Mindhunter, but that's fine.
So
Whatever.
I just want to pose this question, like just completely 100% sever the ties between this movie and Dragon Tattoo. Like just put this out there as a different title, like different story, even rename the characters. Mm-hmm. Same plot, same action sequences, just rename the characters, has no ties to Dragon Tattoo. You feel the same about it?
That's
See,
actually why.
That's why I gave it a 5.
And that's why I gave it a 4.5.
Yeah.
I was trying to.
I was incapable of doing it.
Yeah,
Here's-
I was
here's the
trying
thing,
to
though.
excise
Okay, so
myself from.
My view on that
Yeah.
is this: because of what it is, you shouldn't even try to see it on its own.
Yeah.
Like you're doing it wrong if you're trying to see it on its own because it's supposed to be a part of that world.
Yeah, it's
It's
trying
supposed
to be. It's trying to be
a
two things.
sequel reboot.
Yeah, which
whatever.
Which you can't, as I said,
Which
you can't
is
have your
wrong.
cake and eat it too.
Yeah.
Which is what this
Yeah.
movie's trying to do. It thinks that all the establishing has already been done, so I'm just gonna, go forward with the plot. But you can't do that when you change literally everything.
Yeah.
But whatever, that's fine.
See, I think for me, it's worthy of a 5 because 5 is basically the bare minimum of effort, in my opinion. Anything lower just feels kind of like a slap in the face.
Yeah.
This sort of does.
So
But at least to some degree, it feels like there was some work involved.
yeah. So okay, that makes sense. A 5 is like showing work involved but not succeeding at all.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That makes sense. This does look like some, work was definitely put into it. None of it succeeds.
Yeah, it was not fully fleshed out. I think it just felt like influences were pulling it in several different directions to the point where it didn't have really a cohesive sense to it.
Ain't
Yeah.
got no identity.
Anyway, do you all have any closing statements on this franchise before we end this episode?
Next movie.
Yeah, next.
You suck, August.
Oh.
So I
August
would just
killed this
say,
movie.
reiterate, recommend the English version of Girl with the Dragon Tattoo.
Yep.
If you can stand subtitles in foreign language films, watch the Swedish language versions.
Definitely.
At least the first one. Compare those two. And then if you have time to waste, watch this, I guess.
Or don't. That's fine.
Yeah, you're not missing anything.
You don't need
Yeah.
to. Just
This-
read the books.
Yeah. Yeah, that. Oh, can I?
It definitely still, this contrasted with the Craig and Mara version, just like Noah said, I almost want to rate the first one higher.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
definitely.
contrasted against this. And it actually makes me more interested in delving more into Fincher's work, rewatching his old stuff, and, looking forward to maybe
Yeah.
more Rooney Mara stuff
Mm-hmm.
and seeing how she develops as an
Yeah.
actress. So,
To leave it with a
I'll
positive
let you
note, I think the thing I like about this is pushing a female protagonist.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas Fincher's did push a female protagonist, but this one almost more so emphasized her as the leading character.
Because they killed Blomkvist completely.
Yeah, and Blomkvist is basically like the female stereotype that other films usually take.
Excuse me. Blomkvist died in this?
What?
I'm saying figuratively he was non-existent,
He
so
was-
they
yeah.
killed
Oh, yeah. I was like,
He might as well
wait,
be dead because
We all watched
Yeah.
it.
Really
we
though,
all
really
didn't
though.
even realize.
So I think
That would have been hilarious.
the-
They actually
the-
did kill
the
him off and no one
redeeming-
noticed.
The incredibly redeeming factor of this, I will reiterate, is that she is pushed as the lead.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that.
I'm going to do a final questioning before we close out this episode. So, franchise killer, it's basically a loose kill on the franchise because these can always be picked back up years
Right.
later. But I'm going to say this one is dead.
Yeah.
But I'm going to ask you all, we'll go round table, how many years till this franchise gets picked back up
10.
and someone
8.
tries again?
10.
I'd give it 7.
10.
I would
I
say
bet-
10 or more. This would be like
Um,
remaking the Green Mile almost. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, why would you
like
do that?
Manchurian
Why would you do
Candidate,
that?
which I know they're remaking. It's got to like settle in the Fincher version, and then in order to even tackle the Fincher version, you're going to have time between a generation.
Yes.
Right.
Here, I have a feeling that Fincher might just be like, nah, retcon that. I'm going to do an actual sequel.
Or with
That's-
the way things are going, I mean, it's almost like cliche now, where it's like TV series. Mm-hmm. But, I mean, who knows how things...
TV series would be cool.
Actually, that could work.
Yeah. I would.
Yeah.
And I think the only chance this franchise has is honestly David Fincher coming back.
Yeah, I agree.
But I doubt that's going to happen.
I mean, so look at strong female protagonists in TV series. What they did, what's her name, in the Terminator series, Sarah Connor.
Sarah Connor.
Yeah.
I don't know how well that did.
And Halloween as well with
Yeah.
Jamie Lee Curtis.
Yeah.
So Jessica Jones, maybe.
Yeah.
Troubled, this is a little probably darker, but I mean, a little similar just between Jessica Jones. I mean,
Yeah. David, you have any opinions? Is this franchise ever coming back?
It's dead.
It's dead forever.
Not forever. I feel like I either David Fincher has to do it, or it's going to be a very long time.
Why don't you do it?
Why don't
I-
you do it, David?
I could do it if I wanted to, but I just don't have the time.
All right, that's gonna close out our The Girl in the Spider's Web episode, and also our Dragon Tattoo, or I guess Millennium series, if you want to call it.
The Millennium series.
Yeah. So just 2 films, unfortunately. Maybe someday, way in the future, we'll cover the
It's
Swedish
so
trilogy.
sad.
I know it is sad.
I'll do
never
better
got
next
that
time I
sequel.
choose movies.
No, you're good. Yeah, I was so glad we covered Dragon Tattoo. It was so worth it.
Yeah.
This one, it's just that's what this podcast is about. It's
Yeah.
covering the positives and negatives of franchises
You're right.
and what helps and what hurts them.
So hopefully you
So-
listeners enjoyed us completely bashing something.
Yeah, and praising another.
Yeah.
So that's the fun of it.
Mind if
All right,
I
so Noah,
announce
yes,
something?
Noah, I'm going to pass it over to you. You're going to announce our next podcast
Yes.
or the next film we cover.
The next movie. This is one that I've decided upon.
Yes, you're next on our list. That's
Yeah.
why.
And you're Noah.
John Carter.
John Carter, the
Yeah.
Disney flop.
We're going to space.
Didn't it make
John
some sort of
Carter
record
Mars.
on its loss or something like that?
Yeah, something like
I don't
that.
know.
Yeah.
We'll talk about it.
So yeah, tune in next week for John Carter,
Yeah.
a one-off, which will be followed by probably another one-off, and then maybe a longer series.
Amen, sister.
I'm not
So,
going
yeah.
to lie. I definitely did not think I was going to watch this movie in my lifetime.
Well, you are. So.
I'm actually
Here
kind
we
of excited
go.
to see it.
Yeah.
It'll be fun.
All right, guys. Good night or good morning, whenever you're
Toodles.
watching.
Bye.
Toodles.
Bye.